Nick, whatever you were saying before, I really can't hear you.
Oh, you can't?
No, I couldn't hear you over the
Or did
music.
you just choose not to hear me?
It was selective, yes.
I selective hear myself as well.
This is Finding Neutral Podcast. I'm Aaron.
I'm Travis.
I'm Nick.
And on today's episode, which is episode 896,
We discussed the fact that did we make it to 70 subscribers?
We're over that. We're almost 80.
Whoa.
where's the celebration?
We need the
The
Popper
poppers?
things,
And
yeah.
I'm waiting for my YouTube gold
No, I was going to
plaque.
say, they sent us the gold plaque at 100, right?
Today's episode's tires. And I want to preface that with saying we're not talking specific tires. We're talking generally. Like, I don't want to go into specific tires because one, we don't know every tire ever made, and two, we're not versed in like cruiser stuff and other genres of motorcycle tire.
But we will speak about what we like.
Yeah, and
and in 6 months when somebody comes out with a brand new tire that we don't know about.
yeah, exactly. We don't want to date this by saying, like the Dunlop Qualifier Q2 is the awesome tire. We want to keep it all about what makes a good tire and what makes a bad tire and why.
That was such
Yeah,
a boomer
and I mean,
statement.
specifically,
Q2s. That's such a boomer. Such a boomer statement.
it's only
I'll just throw that out there.
it's only August 18th, 2025 right now, just to be clear.
You sure you want to date it like that? Because this probably won't come out for like, 4 weeks?
Do you think someone's going to check?
3.
3 weeks?
Do you
Okay.
think they're going to check from the date it was posted versus the date I just said?
Oh,
now they
absolutely.
will. but-
Absolutely.
We've probably already put everybody to sleep. So
So tires. That's the discussion. Travis, what to you makes a tire good?
grip.
Define that.
When the tire grips the road.
You can't use the word in its own definition.
What is this, a spelling bee?
No, this is common sense.
Well, I guess podcast over. Travis defined it.
You hit the nail right on the head.
I mean, that's what they're for, right? They need to stick to the road.
Stick to the road, but like tons of tires out there will stick to the road. What makes one better than the other if they all stick?
I do like profile. Profile is important, depending on the task.
So-
what the tire's for.
For those out there who don't know, what is a tire profile?
The dimensions of the arc of the tire, the cross-sectional arc.
Yeah, I would say the cross-sectional arc. So like if you were imagining looking at a motorcycle from the behind view, we'll just go with that for now. And you're not sitting on the motorcycle, you're standing behind it. In fact, you're kneeling down and you're looking at the rear of the motorcycle. And you look at the top of the tire.
This is getting spicy.
Oh, I know. The way that it you can see the circumference of the tire from one sidewall to the other sidewall. That's going to be the profile of the tire. And what is it about the profile that makes you like it or makes you not like it?
I like it sharp in the middle, so it tips in quick.
So you want a more
V-shaped profile
Yeah,
versus
more-
a rounded profile.
Yeah, like a rounded V, but yeah, I don't know. There's technical
they're all
terms
round.
for that,
well
To be
no-
clear.
Well, no, there's some tires out there that are pretty
Flatter
dang
than
flat,
others.
and I also don't like. I like a more round profile versus a more flat profile. That gives the bike a more agile feel rather than when you have a flatter tire. It takes more effort to tip in on steering.
Well, so one thing that I will say, being newer to the concept of motorcycles, is it's very different to me how you can have two tires that have the exact same numbers, like a 190, 55, 17, that feel different because they're shaped differently. Because like in the world of car tires, like a 275 from any manufacturer is the exact same.
No, I wouldn't. So a little lesser known fact about tires, there's no standardization from where they have to take that measurement. So let's break that down.
Okay.
Like for motorcycle tires, 190, 55, 17 for a rear tire on most of your larger capacity sport bikes. What those numbers mean, the first number, 190, that's going to be the cross-sectional width of the tire. And so basically the width of the tread.
So is that across or around?
It's all the way around.
Okay.
And the way they measure that is not standardized. So they don't necessarily have to go to the literal edge. They could be a few millimeters inward of the edge. They could be a few millimeters outward compared to other manufacturers. There's no standardization on that. That's why you can have 3 different brands of tire or even 3 different models of tire within the same brand actually be physically different widths if you hold them up next to each other, because there isn't a standardization for it. So that's a little known fact. That carries over to cars as well. You can buy 3 different 275 width tires and they might all be different widths because there's no standardization on where they measure from. So that number, going back to bike tires, 190, 55, 17, the first number, 190, that is the width of the tire, of the tread, measured in millimeters specifically. The second number, 55, is what they call the
Aspect ratio.
aspect ratio series. I mean, there's a few different words for it, but basically what that boils down to is that 55 number, that is the percentage of the width, and it also comes out in millimeters. So it's 55% of 190. And that's going to be the height of the tire from where it mounts on the rim up to the tread. So your sidewall height is going to be the aspect ratio. And different size aspect ratios are going to have different effects. But for most your modern sport bikes that are larger capacity, and larger capacities like 1,000 cc, give or take, you're going to see a 190, 55. And then the last number, 17, is just literally the rim diameter. And that one's pretty easy. So you like a more round profile. What about you, Nick? Do you like more round or more flat profile?
I like the rounded profile as well.
Yep, all 3 of us, we like the round profiles. I think the bike just feels more agile when you're on a round profile. The flat profiles are kind of more of like an old school profile. They're like older tires from back in the day. Michelin Pilot Powers always come to mind. The original Pilot Power was, I don't remember exactly when it was invented, but it was largely popular from like 2005 to like 2010 or so. And man, it was, back then when it came out, it was like the top tire. But then when you got into like, you made fun of me for the Q2s, the qualifier Q2. When that thing came out, it came out with basically a race tire profile, and it changed the whole game for sport tires. Once that thing came out with that race profile, the bike just felt so agile with it, just so light on its feet. And yeah, I agree. I like a round profile.
Yeah, and the thing that even as a newer rider, I feel like with my first bike, I want to say it came with like Bridgestone, BT. So those I think are more like a sport tour tire.
BT 03s or 026s.
I think they were like 016s.
016s, yeah.
Yeah, they were old tires. So I went from those to the Pirelli Diablo 4 Corsa. And that was like completely different.
Yep.
I liked those a lot. And then everybody was talking about how great they liked the Michelin Power 5s. So then I put those on, and that's what I have now. And those tires, they're great tires because A, they don't wear, which that's another thing that I like about. I don't want to replace tires every 2,000 miles. So I want to at least get 5,000 out of them. But the profile, the shape of those is, I would say, flatter than the Pirellis. And even for somebody who hadn't been around for very long, it was very apparent very early on that they did not act in the same fashion.
Yeah, it'll definitely make the bike feel lazier. And when you go to tip into a corner, it takes more effort to get the bike to lean over, to bank over. And especially on transitions, man, like going from a full left turn to a full right turn, it feels like it takes so much effort to get the bike to want to do that versus if you have a tire with a lot sharper of a profile. Downsides to a sharp profile, like you're talking about, is you have less contact patch when you're going in a straight line, which dissipates the heat worse and a lot of other functions that cause the tire to wear out more quickly in the center. And to combat that, that's why they came out with dual compound technology. Michelin came out with the Michelin Pilot Power 2CT back in the day, and then Dunlop had the Qualifier Q2, which was a dual compound tire, which had a really hard compound in the center, a really soft compound on the edge that allowed them to run a really sharp profile and still get reasonable tire life was the goal with that. Yeah, so Travis, you mentioned grip earlier. Grip boils down to compound essentially. And pretty much like the grippier the compound, I don't want to say softer because softer is not necessarily the right term, but the grippier the compound, usually the quicker it wears. So
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
where do you like to split the difference? What are your expectations as far as tire lifing versus grip? Or your
Well,
philosophy on that?
I mean, right now I'm kind of all in on the grip factor and not on the wear factor at all.
Yeah, because you're made of money.
That'd be news to me. The the tires I use now, the Super Corsa SP V4s, are amazing, but
Every time you turn, we can see the dollars falling off.
yeah, they do. They literally peel off.
I don't even think they make them out of rubber. They just make them out of dollars.
Just pure money.
No,
They'd
it's-
probably be cheaper if they were pure money.
Well, no, they make them out of euros.
Yep.
Those tires do amazing, but they struggle to get 2,000 miles. Now, granted, I'm not like babying them or anything. I'm intentionally being aggressive, but that's kind of the whole point of the tire. If I'm not being aggressive, then I'll ride something else. That's the purpose of that bike and of that tire, and that's why I kind of am okay with it, because it's centered around performance, not economy. I have another bike for economy, and I have a totally different, like the polar opposite view for that bike on what I want out of the tire.
I would agree with that, and so back in the Asphalt Junkies days when we used to talk on the forums and stuff, and we'd get newer riders in there and stuff, and they'd be asking more experienced riders their opinions on this type of stuff, like what tires should I run for the roads that we ride down in Kentucky. And we're trying to ride them, we're trying to ride through there at a spirited pace. We're trying to have some fun. So they would look to the experienced guys like, what should I do? And typically the experienced guys would kind of break it down like this. One, if you're new, and especially if you're new to that style of riding, it doesn't really matter
No,
what
it
tire you're
doesn't.
on, because all these modern tires are so good. It just doesn't really matter. But
You're never going to generate enough heat for it to even matter.
Well, you're never going to overheat the tire on the
Yeah.
road. But what they would say is, I would rather pay for peace of mind. And if peace of mind is going to give you the confidence you need to ride well, then it was worth spending the money on the tire.
Yep.
Even if you're going to burn through the tires, it's still worth spending the money on it because it's giving you the confidence to ride well. And if you have ever like kind of found a tire that you really click with, that you really gel with, and you try to, for whatever reason, like, say your local vendor just couldn't get a hold of that tire for that whatever reason, you needed a tire right then and there, and you slap something else on. If you've ever been in that situation, man, like it can get really in your head and cause you to have nerve problems, and you just lose all confidence. You can no longer ride as well as you once were, and it can get really frustrating, enough to the point where you're like, screw this tire, and you take it off while it's still good and put your tire of choice on.
Yep. And I would argue that that's like the worst thing you can have happen while riding a motorcycle is lose confidence in your tire, because it's literally the only thing holding you on the road. And I've lost confidence in tires before, and you just shut down. Like, you can't ride if you don't have confidence in your tires.
You end up just tiptoeing everywhere because you're like, man.
And then every little thing that happens, you overanalyze every little thing, and you're like, oh, well, the tire this, the tire that. Like, is if I lower the pressure, will that help stop this thing from happening? And you get buried in the tire, and you get so hung up on a problem that doesn't exist.
I mean, I've said that before about those Michelins that I have on the ZX6R. I've crashed twice on those. And I'm like, well, I don't like these tires. But, I mean, if you kind of step back and, like, look at everything going on, you can think, well, I may not like them, but I don't think that's the true reason. And I'm still
Well, it's
riding
all
on those
psychological.
today. Yeah.
It almost certainly isn't the tire, but it's the psychological part.
Yeah.
And
And
that's the worst part.
Because
to
like you
have.
said, modern tires from a decent brand, they're all like really good.
They are. They are all really good. And there's, like, if I'm being realistic, there is no real wrong option. You can't make a wrong choice when it comes to tires nowadays. But like we were just mentioning, if you pick the wrong tire for you, it can cause a confidence issue. And what that stems from is not only the grip level of the tire, but a lot of folks, especially newer riders, don't understand that different tires will feel different, and they'll provide feedback to the rider in a different way. One of my things that I'd realized after riding a long time and riding on different tires, when I first tried a modern Pirelli after coming off of Dunlops, I was on Dunlop Q2 for a long time, and then Dunlop Q3 came out, and I switched over to the Q3. And these things were the greatest things since sliced bread. I thought they were amazing. Then I bought a bike that came off the factory showroom with Pirelli Supercourses on it. And I thought the bike was incredible. And then when my tires came up to be replaced, I put my tried, true, trusty Dunlop Q3s on there. Like, I've ran that tire a million times.
Yep.
And after I rode that bike on a set of whatever they were, Q3s or Q3 pluses back in those days, man, it was just nervous, and I couldn't gel with it. I went to the Smoky Mountains with that bike on those Dunlops, and I didn't understand what was going on. And I finally, it clicked in my head, like, well, I'm on a different tire than I was before. And what I realized was, so Dunlops have those particular Dunlops had a really, really stiff carcass. The compound difference, yes, there is a compound difference between the two, but I never had a grip issue. I had a confidence issue caused by the feedback given by that stiff carcass, where the Pirellis had a soft carcass. And what that means is inside the rubber, tires aren't just made of a block of rubber. There's layers. There's like a rubber layer, there's a nylon layer, there's a steel layer, there's another nylon layer, then there's more rubber layers. These things are complicated, and some of these Dunlop tires have a carbon fiber in the sidewalls. The compounds are made of silica and natural rubbers, and all the compounds are their formulas are like really, really secretive to every tire manufacturer.
Trade secrets for each one, yeah.
So, but tires are really, really complicated creatures, and
You're a complicated creature.
well, thank you. The hard carcass versus soft carcass, there's no right or wrong. It just depends on what your preferred feel is. And it's not like I necessarily knew that I preferred, I'm sorry. It's not like I tried a soft carcass and, how do I want to word that? When I was on the Q3s before on the previous bike I was on tended to not care that it had a hard carcass tire on there. So I just never knew. When I got this new bike on the soft carcass, this particular bike was very choosy on tires. and I put the hard carcass tire on, and there was just so much extra feedback coming to me as the rider that it like mid corner, I would read that feedback as if something wrong was happening. I wasn't necessarily like just riding, and I didn't know. So I feel lack of confidence. I feel really nervous. And then I scrapped those tires before they were even run out they were bad. You know, before I was out of tread, I scrapped them early, and I went back to the Pirellis. And I'm talking like immediate. Like I left my driveway, and I felt and all the confidence came back, and I was like, wow, I can't believe like how choosy this bike is on tires.
Yep.
But to say all that, that's not every bike. My Super Duke just really doesn't care what tire I put on it. I've put all kinds of different tires on that thing. I put the Pirelli Supercourse on. I put all kinds of Dunlop Q3s on. I put the Metzler M9RRs. I put the Bridgestone RS10s and RS11s on. I think I put a Michelin on it. I don't remember if I ever put a Michelin on it.
Yeah, I think you did have a Michelin on it for a little while.
I think I probably put a Michelin on it. I like to try all the different tires. And of course, I've had all kinds of race slicks on it. And I hate the Dunlop race slicks. I hate them. And I love these new Metzlers that I got. They're awesome, but Metzler's owned by Pirelli, and they have a Pirelli feel and blah, blah, blah. But so yeah, like there's nothing particularly wrong with Dunlop race slicks. And I've watched a lot of my friends go really fast on Dunlop race slicks. So obviously it's not a tire problem. It's just, I don't like the feedback and feel I get from that carcass they have.
Yeah. The problem's not the tire, it's you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But it's also a preference, right?
Breaking up with your tire brand.
And I still run plenty of Dunlops. Like right now, my Super Duke has, for street tires, has a Dunlop Q5 front. No, I'm sorry, it has an old Q4 front and a Q3 Plus rear. And
Yeah, that front's smoked on that.
yeah,
thing
it's
now.
smoked. So I'm going to go with the Q5 front and the Q5S rear. So that'll be my hot setup for like,
For going to work.
yeah, for going to work. It's my work bike.
Well, that was one thing I was thinking about with, so I do think that when I need new tires on the ZX6R, I will go back to the Pirellis on that. But I have those on the BMW right now. And of course, I like those, but I'm kind of thinking about going towards something more like less aggressive compound wise, just because I feel like I don't need it on that bike because I don't feel like I ride it nearly as hard as I do the ZX6R. So I was kind of thinking that you said Metzler, and I was thinking maybe that would be one to try the M9RRs on.
The M9RRs, I've never ran the M9s. The predecessor was the M7RR. That's actually what my Super Duke came with. Mm-hmm. And one thing I've always said about that Metzler is it's fine. It doesn't stand out in any way. It doesn't do anything wrong. It doesn't do anything great. It just does. And I ran it at a track day at Mid-O because there was threats of rain and stuff, so I didn't want to run race tires. And I just ran what was the bike came with them, and I was like, screw it. And the bike at the time when I took it to Mid-O, I think I only had like break-in miles done by the time when I did my first track day at Mid-O on that bike. And since there was a threat of rain and stuff, I was like, screw it, I'll just run the street tires. And they did fine. They did just fine. I didn't overheat them or anything. It was a little cooler out, and it did rain some, so I wasn't going too hard. Mid-O's a track that if it rains, they shut the track down. That's how dangerous it was back then with the old surface they had. They wouldn't even let you ride in it. And when it's cooler out, like if it's like 65 degrees out at Mid-O, it's real slick.
Yeah.
Not anymore though. They repaved that track, so now it's supposed to be really awesome. But yeah, the Metzlers, I think you would be happy with those, but I don't think you'd be like impressed with them.
Yeah, and I guess thinking about it, I guess it'll come back to how long will the Pirellis last on that? Like, will I get 5,000 miles out of them, or will it be more? If it's more than 5,000 miles,
Screw it.
great.
Yeah.
Because the ones that I had on it before, I don't think they're offered in the U.S., but they were Dunlop Sport Smart
Yeah.
something or other. They had a different type of a siping pattern.
It's basically the Euro version of the Q5S.
So I want to say, even if I wanted to get those tires again, I don't think I could, even if I went to the dealership.
Yeah.
I would honestly recommend that you run Bridgestone S23s.
So I've always been curious about those, but people have said kind of differing things about those. I feel like they have more of a flatter profile.
The S22s and S23s are a pretty aggressive profile, but they're not quite as Pirelli aggressive.
Okay.
Pirelli has the most aggressive profile. Pirelli also has the lightest weight tire. There's a lot of pros about Pirellis. Like Pirellis are most, I think they're probably the highest tech tire, and I think they're the most aggressive tire. But on the flip side of that, it comes at a cost, and the cost is they don't last as long. I've found that Pirellis tend to not last as long as other tires, but I mean, obviously you're getting something out of that. It's not like they don't last as long, and
There's no performance. Like there's a performance gain. The downside is they don't last.
yeah.
And I want to say that when I had them on the ZX6R, I got about 5,000 miles out of them. But of course, I don't think I was riding as aggressively 2 years ago as I do now.
That and you're on a 200 horse bike instead of a 120 horse bike.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that alone is going to cause it to chew up rear
Yeah,
tires.
so we'll see.
And
TBD.
I think with the Metzler, like I said, you would do fine, and you'd be okay with that tire, but I don't think you'd be impressed by it.
Yeah, 'cause I know I don't want to do Michelin's.
Yeah,
I'm pretty done with those. Like, I don't want to buy them again. Sure, they last for fucking ever.
So Michelin, in putting all the BS aside, Michelin has the best compound for tires. Period. Like, their compound is incredible, and they keep that formula under lock and key. It is very close to their heart. I feel like it's the grippiest compound on earth. My problem with Michelin's always boils down to their carcass and their profile. They just don't have the profile, and I think that's something they could easily fix. I really do, because their carcass feel is like, it's a softer carcass. I tend to like it, but because the profile's lazy, I'm not a fan. The bike just requires more effort, and I don't like that. I like the bike to feel effortless and tip in super easy.
And I've never had grip issues with those tires.
And Michelin's, their compound not only grips like hell, it lasts a long time, and it has excellent wet weather performance.
Yeah.
So however in the heck Michelin makes that compound is beyond me. The other problem with Michelin's that I've always had is they're pricey. They've always been pricey.
See, I don't think that... I want to say that set that I bought about 2 years ago, I think it was on rebate, which is why I picked those at the time.
Oh, okay.
So I want to say I paid about... It was less than $350 for a set, which was good. And I think that I've done 2,500 street miles, but then we did a whole 3-day Jennings weekend.
Which
on
Jennings
those tires too.
Jennings is horrible on tires.
Yeah. And like, they probably still have 4 to 5, 30 seconds of tread left. They're not even to the halfway point. It's insane.
I would get concerned with heat cycling at that point.
And these modern tires, they don't subject to that as much as old tires or race tires. Race tires
Yeah.
get subjected to heat cycling. I would just worry about them drying out, just age drying out, and that's really it. And you'll see them start to turn like a brownish reddish color when they start to dry out, or you'll see the oils that are naturally in the tires start to raise to the
When
surface.
you get like the blue edge.
When you get the blue edge,
Yeah.
that means the oil is raised to the surface, and you don't have much life left in them, even if they have a ton of tread left. It's not a good idea to run a really blued tire or a really like browned tire. Like if your tire is not black, it's probably not a good idea to run it. It's probably got age or got a lot of heat in it.
It should be squishy too. Like if you dig your fingernail into
Yeah,
it,
it shouldn't feel crumbly.
It shouldn't feel crumbly and hard. It should be like soft and
Yeah,
Don't
nice-
run a poop
gooey.
tire.
Nice and pliable. So, this is funny. When I was in high school a million years ago,
You ran lots of brown tires.
yeah, I was in physics class in my senior year, and it was, I don't know, I liked physics. I thought it was cool. It was a fun class to take. My physics teacher, he was this little feller, and he was a super nice guy. Very,
Was
very nice
he
guy.
taller or shorter than Travis?
I think he was taller, but he was like little, like skinny too. He was just like a little
very
guy.
compact human.
Like if I had to put him on a scale, I'd bet he'd weigh about 120 pounds. He was a little feller,
I weighed 120 pounds and I was 6'1".
and you're a little feller.
I'm not a short feller.
But I don't even remember the guy's name, but he was very nice guy. And we were talking one day about friction and blah, 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 stuff that I can't even remember. But basically what I kind of remember from the discussion was like the way friction works is you have basically like weight coming down onto a surface, and it doesn't matter the surface area. Your coefficient of friction is going to be the same. The only thing that changes your coefficient of friction is if you change the materials and the surface of like the surface of like the street, and then the surface of the tire, or in the compound of the tire. If you're not changing those things out, it doesn't matter how wide or how narrow, you're still getting the same coefficient of friction.
You actually can change the coefficient of friction.
And what's that?
You can change it.
Well, changing the materials.
Well,
And I asked him, I was like, well,
Lubricant.
and that's changing
yes,
the
there's
materials.
lubricant, but
And like, what's one of the materials that has the least coefficient of friction?
your friction's higher when the objects aren't moving against each other. Once
Yeah,
they start
and yeah,
rubbing, then it
and
lowers.
there was that stuff too, but
Static and dynamic.
yep.
Once there's some insertion.
Like one of the materials with the least amount or least coefficient of friction is ice. That has a very low coefficient of friction.
Teflon.
So I raised my hand and I asked him, well, if that's true, why do all sports cars run wide tires? And he stopped and he said, honestly, I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that. And he never got back to me on it. He never did. But I found out why later in life.
Did he drive a Corvette with
No.
wide tires?
He did not. But I found out why later in life. And the reason, like your bigger capacity sport bikes, why they run wider tires, and the reason it's thought that wider tires give you better grip, it has nothing to do with the width of the tire.
Contact patch.
It has everything to do. No, it has everything to do with the compound. And what a wider tire allows you to do is it allows you to run a softer compound and dissipate the heat across that compound so you don't burn the tire off. That's all it's doing is you're giving it a wider area to dissipate heat so you can run softer compounds without boiling the compound. Because imagine like your tire is made of rubber, and if you heat rubber up hot enough, what does it do? It melts. So if you can dissipate that heat and keep the rubber from melting, you won't wear the tire out so quickly. And essentially that's what's happening. That's why these bigger bikes with bigger motors need wider tires, because they need more heat dissipation. And that's what it all boils down to. And I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting stuff there, like I always wondered like, well, why do I need to run a 190 tire on my bike? Why can't I run a 160 tire? Because they're cheaper.
Well, then your rim width comes into play.
And that also comes into play too. My bike's designed to run a 190, which means it has a 6-inch wide rim for running that tire. Where
Well, and the question is, why was it designed to run a 190? Why not they design it to run a 160?
same
The
thing.
same thing. You
Con-
want more heat dissipation and more contact patch to the compound.
So you can
be
run
softer and-
softer compounds. And if you're building a sport bike, you're building it design and purpose to say this thing's meant to, like, carve up some corners and go fast. So obviously the person who wants to buy a sport bike wants to do sport bike things, which means they want grip. And the way to give them grip is to give them soft compounds. And the only way to make a soft compound last is to dissipate the heat. So they essentially, what it all boils down to is, you want to run the narrowest tire you possibly can. Your bike will handle the best on the narrowest tire. It's just, we have to run wider tires to dissipate the heat so we can run a proper compound.
So if I put a 190 on my BMW instead of a 200, do you think that the life of the tire would be reduced?
Possibly. And the difference between a 190 and a 200 on your bike is going to be profile. Mm-hmm. So you're going to notice
way flatter.
It's going to be flat. Well, he's going to have a 6-inch wide rim. It will be flatter. And you'll also get into wheel diameter stuff. So the ABS might act a little funky. Traction control might act a little funky. And then it's going to change the geometry of the bike. So not only are you going to have like turn-in differences because you have a flatter profile, you've also effectively changed the geometry of the bike. So it's going to turn in different anyways because of that. You're literally changing ride height. So it's going to, all your trail, like everything's going to change.
Well, another way to think about, another way to apply that theory of the size is, if you think about snow tires on a vehicle and, like driving in the snow. So
who uses snow tires? Let's just raw dog through winter.
Well, it depends on where you live. Some people can get over that. But like a tire that performs well in the snow is actually a tire that's skinnier.
Yeah, you always want narrow tires.
And has less contact patch. And the reason for it is the less contact patch is so it has bigger siping, so it can actually eject the snow from underneath the tire. But the skinnier tire actually applies more pressure to cut through the snow.
Yep.
So all of the Jeep Bros and the donks with the big, huge, wide tires.
Oh, those are terrible.
They think
in
they're
the
going to
snow.
do great in the snow, but they don't. They do terrible. They do absolutely
They're all
awful.
over
It's
the
the worst
road.
thing on the road.
That's why me and my 1984 300D rear-wheel drive open diff, it thing does great in the snow.
And it does great
My
partially
240D did awesome in the snow too.
Yeah.
because of how skinny the tire is. It's got, a 15-inch wheel with a
I think it's
6-inch wide tire, and that's it.
I do think it's either 14 or a 15. It's got like a 60 sidewall, and I want to say it's a 195. So
Yeah,
it's
195 6014.
Yeah.
That was a common size back then.
yeah, it was pretty narrow. But I mean, for having no traction control, no locking differential, it snowed so much last
be
year, and I
fair-
had no problem at all.
To be fair, traction control's baked into the 80 horsepower it makes.
Yeah.
It makes 121 back in the day.
And it
thank
weighs like
you.
4,000 pounds.
4,000 pounds of pure joy and torque.
All of
and-
your motorcycles make more horsepower than that.
Well, it's a couple pounds
true.
heavier now that he's got half a bottle of Bondo on the side of it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that it had that there. That's why it's more weighted in the rear, because it turned out it had some Bondo back there. And a few bags of sand in the trunk. Actually, you know what I did? I put this is probably like a not safe idea, but to weight down the back in the winter, I put my full gas cans in the trunk.
Not a great idea. You should probably use like sandbags or something like that.
Well, but
Something
those were
non-flammable.
compact and heavy,
Yeah. All
Just
you need
don't
to
get
do-
rear-ended.
What was that car? The Pinto? They used to get the exploding a
Yes.
fireball when they get
Yes.
rear-ended. That's going to be Nick in his 300D.
And you'd be like, it's diesel. It shouldn't explode. Oh, wait, there were 20 gallons of gas in the trunk.
Well, then they're going to go on an entire police investigation as to why you had gas inside a diesel car.
To weight down the back end, obviously.
Well, you're going to be dead, so it's not like they can ask you.
Well, they're going to they probably are our viewer of the Finding Neutral podcast, so they will know.
I doubt the CPD is interested in our podcast.
We're not that popular yet, I guess.
We haven't had enough bad driving videos for them to be aware
Yeah,
of
we
us.
haven't posted any illegal videos yet.
Well, kind of.
Not in CPD territory.
Yeah, not in CBD territory.
No.
So yeah, like there was another interesting thing on tires too, more specific to motorcycles, because motorcycles add a different dynamic to tires, obviously, than cars do.
I mean,
Cars,
it's way more important.
yeah,
And the differences are
It's-
way more noticeable.
it's way more effective,
Absolutely.
for sure. So the front tire, we've been talking a lot, and it's been more rear tire focused, but the front tire, by far, in my opinion, is the more important tire. That's going to be your tire that leads you into the corner and on the brakes.
Yep.
And the rear tire, it's just kind of back there. You can apply power to it, and ultimately, because it doesn't pivot and turn, it's pretty controllable.
But when it slips, it's less scary.
Yeah, if
than
you lose the
Oh,
front,
absolutely.
like you better say a prayer.
And the front, what it does is they design it under heavy braking to flatten its profile out, to spread out that weight and increase contact patch. It's designed to go that way. And you were asking me before when we were in my shop earlier about the tire pressures on the Metzler slicks that I'm running. When I looked up what their recommended tire pressures were to start, because I've never ran these before, so I didn't know where to go with the tire pressure. And I can't remember the exact details. So, whoever is listening to this, don't kill me for it. But
No, please kill him.
it was like 26 to 29 pounds in the rear after you come off the warmers. And then it was like 32 to 36 pounds in the front after you come off the warmers. And he was asking like, man, that's kind of high for the front. And I was like, not with these modern tires. All the modern tires are going towards a soft carcass. Like even Dunlop's starting to do soft carcass stuff. Pirelli kind of led the way in that. And to compensate for the soft carcass, they have to up the pressure. That way, when you're under heavy brake force, it doesn't, basically, you don't go all the way down to the rim. So that's why they run so much pressure in them. And, but yeah, like that's going to change the dynamic of it. But then like as your tire flattens out, you still have to tip into the corner. And if it flattens out, that requires extra effort in tipping in.
Yep.
So I noticed that was one of the first things I noticed when I rode the Dunlop Q4 when it came out. I was really excited to try it because it was like latest and greatest and all that stuff. And I've been a big fan of Dunlop tires for a long time. When I rode that Q4, the compound was incredible. It was so good. Like I could do no wrong. It was awesome. I ran them at Jennings and it was so much fun. But I noticed that coming into turn one specifically, I'd be on the brakes and it's not like the heaviest braking zone. It's pretty flowy into turn one, but there's still some brakes that need applied. I noticed that the tire was kind of getting crushed under the weight of the brakes. And then as I was tipping in, it just required more effort. But once I was in and I trailed off the brakes and I unloaded that tire, or I unloaded the brakes and applied the load just to the turning forces, I know the tire would like grow back out and then deform for the towards the corner. And then I would gain back the nimbleness. But during that one situation where I'm under heavy brake and trying to tip in, I noticed it took a little more effort than it did on other tires. So that's specifically why it was Dunlop's kind of earlier attempts at soft carcass. And I feel like as time progresses, they're going to get better at it. Where Pirelli, I never noticed that. Like I always noticed, like, man, tip in was awesome on Pirellis. So that's like another dynamic of the carcass that you can feel, and why it's so important that you understand what it is and you figure out what you prefer. Because there's no right or wrong to any of this. Some people love hard carcass. Like I know people from back in the day that like hated Pirellis. They hated them. They called them, they feel muted. They felt numb, and there was just no feedback. They felt disconnected from the road. Where when they got on the Dunlop with the hard carcass, they were like, finally, I can like feel the road underneath me. I just felt like on the Dunlops, it was information overload. So they just made things like super nervous.
Yep. Yeah, I could see that. I remember on the Q3 pluses that I had on the Z900, they were definitely stiff, and you felt every little nook and cranny, every little crack, every little rock that you ran over. Like, you felt it in the bars. You didn't really feel the rear. The rear didn't really matter. You didn't really care. You never felt the rear bucket you or anything for that kind of stuff, but you felt it in the front. And
Yeah, the front, like I was saying before, the front is so important on a motorcycle. And I think a lot of people pay more attention to the rear. And I always, shouldn't say always, but I would say 95% of the time, I replace both tires at the same time.
Yeah, I've never done the whole 2-for-1 special, 2 rears to a front.
A lot of people trying to save money will do that. They'll run 2 rears to 1 front. And the reason I don't like doing that is usually when I'm due up for a rear, I don't have enough front left to buy a whole nother rear and
Yeah.
run it again. And the other thing too is I'm going to get into some aging problems with that. You know, not because of the literal, like, how many days old the tire is. It more boils down to how many heat cycles I
Yeah,
put
the
them
heat
through.
cycling.
And even though modern tires are pretty robust to heat cycling, they can only do so much.
yep.
And I've noticed that where, like, if I try to get 2 rears to 1 front, I'm usually replacing a couple sets a season. That's how often I usually go through tires, is a couple sets a season. That's typical for me. So I'm not even trying to make them last multiple seasons. I age them out before the season's even up. And once that front ages and it's gone, I don't care how much tread's left on it. I ain't running it.
Yep.
But you can give me a rear tire that's, you know, it's a little weathered, it's a little worn, and I'll still run it. It'll be fine. Because to me, the rear tire has that much less importance to me.
Yeah. Yep. The only reason I do that is because the Pirellis just burn up so quick.
Yep.
And the front, I really feel like doesn't really wear a lot on that bike. The only time I've had any significant wear on the front was at Jennings, which, yeah, does make sense.
Yeah.
But I also burn a tire up at a day and a half in Jennings.
And even when you mountains ride and stuff, when we're out street riding, you're really not applying much brake.
You're not applying a lot of brakes, which is what wears the tire on the front. And
You're kind of riding flowy.
big, huge, fast sweepers is where you start to get a lot of front end wear.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you're just tipping in little tight, slower, like 35, 40, 45 mile an hour roads and stuff, little back roads and things, like, you're really not burning the tire up that much in the front. It's mostly all the rear, and most of that is exit,
Yeah, exit.
getting on the gas.
Yeah, exit chews rears up real hard. When you're banked over and you're starting to roll into the gas,
Yep.
especially
Oh,
when you
yeah.
got a powerful bike, it'll
Yep.
just chew through rears.
I know. I've watched it. I watched Monger put blackies down every time he'd come out of a corner. Just a
Yep.
black mark coming off the tire. I was like, well,
Well, and that's kind of why
Everyone
I'm
a layer.
curious with the BMW to see how the rear tires, because I'm getting more aggressive with my throttle on the XSET.
It's easy to do, even with these bikes that have like incredible traction control, like your BMW has. Your BMW probably has, no joke, probably one of the most sophisticated traction control systems on the planet, and it needs it. I mean, it's over 200 horsepower.
Well,
you
but
have
so-
to have it.
I've never seen the light flash.
You're not exactly looking at it either.
Well,
True.
a lot of times, what I've noticed too with a lot of the modern bikes, that have the really nice systems, they won't flash the light at you until it's like a serious traction control event. If it's just scrubbing a little tiny bit of power off for you, like just so that it doesn't spin the wheel so bad, it won't say anything. But then when you have a big issue and it's cutting like a lot of throttle, enough that you're actually going to notice, that's when I think that actually flashes the light at you.
And the modern traction control system, like on your bike, it's so good that you're really not going to feel it working. And the only thing you'll notice is you're rolling the gas on, and you're not
Nothing
getting
else is really happening.
and you're not getting the power that you expect. and then all of a sudden it starts to like roll the power in. It's like gently rolling the power in, especially as you're reducing lean angle, and it's doing that on purpose. It's so you don't high side yourself to the moon. But the traction control is super sophisticated, and even with that, you're still going to chew through tires.
Yep.
It's crazy, but even with all that traction, all that fancy stuff, 6-axis IMU, and all this craziness.
Well, there's a certain amount of slip that's allowed.
Yes.
And when you look at a bike going through a corner and the contact patch is expanded, when the bike is turning, it's rotating
Yes.
around the contact patch. So
Yep.
there's naturally slippage happening all the time. And so it's just how much of that is the bike allowing to happen, and how is the slipping happening? Because it's sliding out very, very slightly, ever so minutely, because it has to move. It's literally sanding the rubber off. That's how it goes away.
It might be a time for me to play with my ride modes again.
Yeah, you could turn them up or down. Like a perfect example was Lou today. His back tire on his XR is toast.
Smoked. Yeah.
And he said that he had to put it in rain mode.
Oh, really? Yeah.
To keep it from going crazy, because he'd be rolling into the gas and the traction control would be shutting him down.
Shutting
And
it down, and the bike was trying to like step out and stuff on him, and
Yeah. So by
he was
putting
having
it
some
in
trouble.
rain, that calmed the bike's acceleration enough that it kept him from pushing the bike too
Yeah, and
far.
I've done like 99% of my miles on that in road.
Yeah,
If I went in for the dynamic, I bet you that would be different.
and
It'd be
I
a little
think
spicier. Your
Yeah.
throttle response would be a little spicier. It'd let you get a little more wild.
well, in dynamic, are you able to adjust the throttle? Pardon me. Are you able to adjust the throttle separately from?
No. So the way that mine is set up, you get rain, road, dynamic, and race. And I believe race is where that dials back the ABS. But then I can go in and I can change it to say, I don't want the preset modes. I want the like race pro modes where you have,
Yeah,
I
full
think 3
customization.
choices. And then there's like 5 different categories in each where you can dial in like the engine, the throttle response, the suspension bullshit, all of that. And I haven't, but if you pick that, you can only pick between those 3 modes that
Oh.
you set up. You can't go, you have to go into the computer and then change it back to be able to do the presets.
Speaking of, and this is completely unrelated to the tire discussion, but today when I was following you, I don't think it was when I was. Actually, it was when I was filming you. I don't know if the camera will catch it though. We were coming out of a left-hander, and you were like rolling onto the throttle. And what I noticed was I don't know why. I think the pavement was a little choppy. But as we were rolling across it, your rear tire was bouncing like a basketball. It was just bouncing, and it only did it for a moment, and it was slight. And what I noticed, I was like, I wonder if he's in a soft suspension mode, because it seemed like you didn't have very much compression or rebound, and I was thinking if he dialed that in a little bit better, it would be a lot more stable of a rear end. So that also means that your front end is probably not as stable. And if you could dial that in a little bit better, with more compression, more rebound, and however you have to do it on your bike electronically, I feel like the bike would feel a lot better. It'd be a lot more confident.
Preload is adjustable.
You should be able to.
Both.
Well, you should be able to. Preload's not what
Yeah,
you need to adjust
yeah.
in this case. You need to adjust valving, compression, and rebound. And I feel like I don't know what presets they have in your bike. I'm not familiar with the new BMWs, but there should be a way to change that suspension mode, even if it's just presets from like road to sport or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe
Well, I
just
bet-
try to go into dynamic versus road.
I bet dynamic will firm it up a little bit.
Because your suspension, like that rear end, did not act correctly. It acted like you're riding a
pogo stick.
a gray hair sport tour. Like that's what it looked like you were riding. The way your rear tire was bouncing like that over the choppy pavement. I was like, yeah, that's not correct. So I was wondering if you had it in like Papal mode
Maybe.
on the suspension, anyways.
Well,
I
it's
know-
just it's you pick a mode and that's
All of it, yeah, it
Yeah.
changes everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John's S1000, his older one, when you went into Dynamic or Dynamic Pro, it changed the suspension. There was electronic suspension settings baked into the presets.
I mean, I
on
bet
his
you if
bike.
I look at the manual, I would hope that it would say for the presets, this is like the equivalent of like the custom settings, and we could see.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'll look into that.
I'm sure Manuel knows.
Yes,
Manuel
Manuel
knows well.
definitely knows. Claro.
So in closing about tires, what else do we have to say?
They cost monies. They're consumable, so expect to replace your tires every
Well,
couple years at least, I would say.
we always used to say the best way to get fast wasn't modifying your bike. It was just spend your money on tires and gas, and you'll get faster. But one thing I would say for anybody out there that's newer to this game, or maybe not necessarily newer, but just less experienced to this, modern tires are great. You're not going to make a mistake buying any of
Yep.
them, and don't be afraid to try different tires. Try them all. You're going to end up going through them anyways. So try different ones each time and see which ones you like the best.
Yeah, and I'm still in that like trial phase, and I've been riding for almost 3 years now, getting close.
And I still to this day try different tires.
They come out with so many tires every couple years that it's like everybody's always in the trial phase. You're always trying the new at the very least the new version of your brand or your product line. But, you know, a lot of times some other tires get cheaper or somebody makes a breakthrough and everybody wants to move over and try that.
Oh, and I will say, unless it's a well-documented, well-known like upgrade mod that it's a better idea, stick with the stock size. Don't
Yes.
go away from the stock size, because it just changes so much about the bike besides the tire size.
Well, the bike is engineered for that tire size. And if it's a modern bike that has ABS, traction control, that kind of stuff, it's monitoring wheel speed. And if
Yep.
the wheel speeds do not match what the bike thinks they should be, it will have a cow.
And it at the very least, it'll act differently. It'll act unexpectedly. So I highly recommend sticking to the correct or to the manufacturer recommended tire size, unless like your Triumph Tiger. There's like a revision in the owner's manual where you can run a different front tire, I believe.
Yeah, 100 was like the factory size, and then they let you go to a 110 or something like that.
A 110
It's like
width
one
in
of the
front.
two, they switched. Yeah.
And for stuff like that, that's fine because the factory approves it, and they've
Yeah.
done all the research on the engineering side of things to know that the tire will work well. So I definitely recommend sticking to the stock size, unless, like I said, it's special circumstances. Don't just go throwing wide. Like I see people wanting to throw wide tires on bikes because they think it looks cool. Whatever. If you're not looking for performance, you don't care about any of that. You just want to look. That's fine, but understand that it's going to ride like crap. So just
So you might as well stretch and lower it too.
I mean, folks who are going for wider tires typically love that kind of stuff, anyways. But and it's have you ever ridden a super wide front tire? It's awful.
I mean, on like goofy off-road stuff, nothing on like a street application.
I rode a Triumph, was it Rocket 3? Oh, it's got like
Was there like 240s out back?
it's got like a 240 out back and like a 180 on the front. Oh, it's awful. Like I rode the bike and I left my dealership parking lot and I rode down the road and nothing
This one
about.
they had a few months ago.
I had this one a couple years ago.
Okay.
I rode it around and out on the road. Don't get me wrong. It nothing necessarily bad about the bike. But as I'm coming back from my test drive and I'm turning right into my dealership parking lot, I blew the turn. I went out wide because I didn't realize it was going to take that much effort to get that bike to turn right. It was so crazy. I couldn't believe it, and I was like, God, why would anybody buy this thing? Like, So that's what a set of really wide tires on a bike is, and that bike was designed for wide tires.
Yeah.
That's just what really wide tires will do. They will
It also wasn't
negatively
specifically
impact.
designed for turning.
I was going to say
Yeah.
not designed for handling.
Yeah. and-
Well, and Indian did that with the FTR,
no, the FTR has normal
Didn't they?
size tires.
but it didn't have a bigger tire in the front.
Well,
At first?
no, it used to run a 19-inch and an 18-inch, and then they went to 17s.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, and
okay.
they weren't wide tires; they were just larger diameter rims, because they were trying to go for like a flat track. It's called an FTR, flat track racer. They were going for a flat track look, and what ended up happening was anybody that rode the bike, the only tires you could get in that size were like,
bad tires.
well, they were like off-road tires.
Yeah.
And the bike's a sport bike. It needs sport tires. So they went to 17-inch so they could put sport tires on it, essentially.
Yeah.
But the Indian that has a wide front is the Scout. Scout Bobber, Sport Scout, all the different Scouts. They have these wide front tires.
And I could make the argument that it makes sense maybe to have a tire like that on a bike like that because it's not a performance turning motorcycle. Careful, Ollie. It's for cruising and for going, mostly in a straight line. You're going down the highway, you're going just down straight roads. And I could see a larger, a balloon-esque style tire.
I'll
kind
tell
of
you though,
being a little more comfortable.
on the Scout, comparing it to that Rocket 3, the Scout's turn-in's not bad. It's really not bad. But it also doesn't have a 240 out back. It's
Yeah.
got a more normal size out
Well,
back.
that Rocket's really long too.
And the Rocket was just overall, it was just a terrible motorcycle. I didn't even find novelty in it. I was just
Yeah.
like, this is just a terrible motorcycle. Why would anybody buy this? And then nobody does buy them, so whatever.
My old neighbor bought one, but we don't like him. He also drives an Audi. Come on now. It's a different type of animal.
Well, I guess that's it on tires then, huh?
That's all we got for tires.
Well, cool.
We're tired of this topic.
I'm tired.
We're tarred. Wanda's tarred over here.